Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM Breaking News, your source for the finest 2A propaganda. Yesterday, Griffin suppressors issued a press release absolutely eviscerating claims from Center Firearms that other companies, Otter Creek Labs mainly, are infringing upon their patent. Now here's a problem. Griffin already did everything that Center Firearms claims to have done. So let me read off some of the bullet points here. First of all, Center Firearms is spelled entirely wrong in the British manner, so you know they're a little suspect to begin with, but they are owned by the Specialists Ltd, a film prop company. They claim Otter Creek Labs makes a can that infringes a patent filed by Center back in 2011. The patent they filed is super vague, and it basically claims to have invented additively manufactured silencers all on their very own. Griffin published a video which completely dismantles all of those claims and proves that Griffin actually made the first 3D printed can, and a guy named Doug Olson from Wilson Combat actually deserves credit for the idea. So the Center Firearms patent is from 2011, but Griffin was making 3D printed cans all the way back in 2010, and as I mentioned, they discussed the idea in 2009, which under patent law, you have 2 years from the first disclosure of an idea to get a patent on it. So basically what it comes down to is Griffin is saying that Center had no business filing a patent in the first place. If anybody had any business filing a patent, it would be Wilson Combat or Griffin, and neither of them did that. Therefore, this sort of thing simply can't be patented because it was being made before the patent was even filed. But it gets worse than that. The Center Firearms patent is super vague and ambiguous. It more or less claims to not just have invented 3D printing firearm suppressors in the first place, but it lists basic features of all silencers as being something that is to be patented, like baffles. The baffles exist, so we patented that. Nevertheless, I think it's super based for Griffin to do this because they're not defending themselves from a patent. Center told Otter Creek that Otter Creek is violating their patent, and Griffin came in to stand up for Otter Creek, a competitor of Griffin. As always, I would love to hear your takes on this story down there in the doobly-doo, but of course it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by Hornady.
The 338 Advanced Rifle Cartridge. Purposefully designed for hard-hitting subsonic performance, the 338 ARC delivers 1.5 times more energy than the 300 Blackout subsonic. Featuring the 307-grain Sub-X bullet in the subsonic line and the 175-grain hollow point in Hornady Black. The big little cartridge that packs a punch. The 338 ARC from Hornady.
And by Vortex. Vortex just released a new closed emitter version of the Venom Micro Red Dot. The new enclosed Venom features large top-mounted buttons and shake awake, so it's always ready, and auto shut off after 10 minutes to save on the convenient side-mounted battery. Find out more down there in the doobly-doo. Kathy Hochul, who I liked much better in The Dark Crystal than I do as governor of New York, just signed a new law which forces gun seizures in domestic calls. That sounds pretty bad. This isn't great. The headline makes it seem a lot worse, but let me go ahead and read this article. It's actually pretty short. Police across New York must now seize firearms during domestic violence calls, even without charges filed, according to the Times-Union. Governor Kathy Hochul signed the law October 16th, requiring officers to temporarily take weapons if victims feel threatened or officers see risk. Supporters say it gives survivors time to seek safety. Critics, including gun rights advocates, argue the law risks violating due process. Weapons must be returned after 5 days if there's no court order or charge. The rule expands a 2020 law and follows a Supreme Court decision upholding federal gun restrictions tied to domestic violence. Of course, they're referring to U.S. versus Rahimi. Not the best ruling. However, the problem here is, well, there's several problems here. One, as the article mentioned, yes, this is a gross violation of due process. Our resident jackboot, my boss Josh, quipped, and I quote, "You know what the department policy is gonna be? Always find risk." That is, police departments afraid of litigation will always find the victims feel threatened. It's not too hard for a cop to kind of sort of manipulate pressure victims into whatever they want them to say. That means that in practice, police are going to show up, find somebody who's been beat to crap by their spouse, and the spouse is gone, I'm going to come back and kill you all and all that sort of thing, threats made, all of that, and then they're going to take the gun away from the victim of the violence. Not great. Not a great look, guys. I mean, New York has never been exactly on the leading edge of civil rights, what with their stop and frisk policies and other nonsense like that. It is good that the weapons have to be returned after 5 days if there's no court order or charge, but so I'm sure somebody's going to step in and be like, oh, you want domestic abusers to be able to have guns? Okay, well, first of all, sport, they already have guns. That's kind of the point here, that they have the guns already. There's no reason for you to expect that they don't have other guns, so taking those guns doesn't necessarily keep anybody safe, but I'm a lot more concerned about how the cops can come in here and disarm the victim. There are plenty of means to keep bad people from having guns, and every single effective means of keeping bad people from having guns involves some silver bracelets and some bars. You have to lock up the bad person. You cannot keep the bad person from gaining access to guns or motor vehicles or stabby things or whatever you want to use to harm people without securing the person himself. That's what it comes down to, is all of these things, the red flag laws and the DV stuff and all of this, felons having their rights restored, all of these issues come back to the fundamental fact that the world is a dangerous place. They have access until you take the bad person and you put the bad person behind bars. Can I get an amen? Next up is a cool new 350 Legend firearm from Faxon in a partnership with Vance. They announced a new exclusive run of the Faxon Ascent 350 Legend semi-auto AR-15 finished in midnight bronze Cerakote, which sounds like a fancy way of saying dark brown. Available only at Vance Outdoors. The Ascent is part of Faxon's first line, designed to deliver the features new AR buyers want at an approachable price. The new Ascent in 350 Legend will feature a 16-inch nitride-coated barrel, enhanced forged receiver set with tensioning screw, 13-inch free-float M-LOK handguard, carbine gas system, mil-spec charging handle, M4 stock, A2 pistol grip, A2 Burge Cade flash hider, and it will weigh 6¼ pounds. As always, YouTube hates me, so I can't tell you how much it costs. You'll have to go to their websites, and I can't even tell you what the websites are, but the internet exists, and I told you what the companies are, so you should have no trouble finding them because you are smart people. And finally, I'd like to wrap it up with a couple of fun threads we found in ARFCOM GD. The first one is somebody pointed out the fact that 42 million people are about to lose access to EBT benefits. Probably, if the government shutdown continues. The budget isn't there, the money is being spent, and unless Congress is able to reconcile the budget, those people are gonna stop getting their benefits. And you can argue about whether they should be or not, but a sudden social change like that is likely to cause some significant chaos. And of course, that could lead to shortages. Think back to the 2020 shortages, food riots, all of that. It's important, folks, that we remember that at any given point in time, we are 3 days away from absolute Stone Age chaos in the US. Grocery stores have about 3 days worth of food. And if that supply gets disrupted through power outages, fuel shortages, or for some people, the disruption of their ability to purchase the food, they're going to do some desperate things. So all of us need to be prepared for that. You need to have your food, ammo, perhaps all of that stuff in place. And it's a good reminder that you should have some ability to procure food for yourself independent from this economic system. I would strongly encourage you to have a garden, some chickens, get into aquaponics. Tilapia in aquaponics is probably the absolute most efficient way to produce protein in a small space. And all of this isn't to allow you to survive on it in and of itself, because if you live on a small 1 acre plot, you may not be able to produce enough food for your family. But the important thing is, if you're doing these things right now, you're getting the practice that you're going to need to be able to survive when the economy inevitably collapses. Okay, maybe a little bit too much doom and gloom here, but hey, little heads up. Now, we can argue about the policy of handing people money for food, and I gotta tell you, I'm a libertarian. I don't think the government should be handing out anything, but I'm also pragmatic, so I recognize there is no timeline in which government is not handing out free shit. So as long as they're doing that anyway, I'd rather they give food to poor people than bail out billionaires who made bad choices. Ultimately, churches should feed people and governments should protect rights, but that's not necessarily the world we live in. I would love to hear your thoughts on whether you think government should be meeting people's basic needs, whether there should be a social safety net at all. But of course, all of that stuff is way outside the main focus of ARFCOM, which is gun rights. And bringing everything back around to gun rights, if SNAP, EBT, TANF, all of those sorts of handout benefits come to an end, you might need to start using your gun rights to protect your own food. And finally, ARFCOM user Backbencher posted a thread with a link to a video featuring a heckin' awesome homemade roller delayed blowback pistol made by YouTuber Rust and Reload. It's got these rad CZ Scorpion inspired knobs for a charging handle. It's got some Mauser C96 DL44 vibes. The thing is heckin' rad. Take a look at it. Well, friends, thanks for watching, and if you want to help us keep delivering you don't forget that we literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors. So do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.